Don't bet silly, bet savvy. Join Coral's Bet and Get Club and get a free £5 bet every Sunday. The smart money's on Coral.
Welcome along to the Racing Post Cricket World Cup show. I'm Bruce Millington and I'm delighted to be joined by James Milton and Liam Flynn from the Racing Post Cricket Desk. And from Coral we've got Simon Clare, ace odds compiler, veteran PR man. And Simon, when you play, which you do every so often, you're a batsman, aren't you? You're a bit of a mean batter?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't played an awful lot in recent years. I played the odd 20-over game at Glorious Goodwood for the Lord March 11 against Lord's Taverners, which is good fun, and I played a couple of other friendly games. But actually, I played my first league game in about 15 years on Saturday for Sanderson Cricket Club, not down,
Just down the road from me.
And I scored 34, batting number 3.
Good work.
Tricky position 3, as you know, waiting there to come in.
Excellent.
Really enjoy that.
Okay, we could hear more, but we're going to rattle on.
I can tell you more.
Yeah, I know you could. We'll rattle on with the actual World Cup. First of all, lads, let's do one takeout from what we've seen in the last few days. Well, we haven't seen much in the last few days because it's been pissing down with rain. But from what we have seen lately, James, based on your original opinions of how this would pan out compared to what we know now, what's changed most?
I'm probably more bullish than I was about India. I think they've made a really impressive start to the tournament, beating South Africa and then Australia. And I tipped in the Racing Post preview. I tipped England to beat India in the final. I think the way the league is shaping up, those two should avoid each other. Hopefully, both finish top 2. So I'm keen on that final. My doubts over India were the kind of middle order. I thought they had big question marks over the number 4 position, but having seen the way that Hardik Pandya came in, if kind of Sharma and Kohli and now looks like Rahul with Dhawan injured for a couple of games, if they lay a foundation, I think India have got the potential to really explode late in the innings.
Should they be favs?
Not quite, no. I think England still with home advantage and just with that kind of absolute battering ram of a batting lineup should still be favourites. But yeah, I mean Pandya, I tipped him to score the fastest 50 in the tournament. So obviously he was about to take the clubhouse lead and got out for 48. But he's a really exciting player to watch.
Liam, what have you learned? Have you been out and about? You've been to any games?
Yes, I was at England versus Pakistan at Trent Bridge. It's a brilliant game, and I'm actually going to South Africa or Afghanistan in Cardiff this weekend as well. So all the glamour ties. But yeah, no. So far, I think the biggest takeout for me has been New Zealand. I mean, they've obviously had 3 pretty straightforward fixtures to begin with, but with all of the rain that we're getting at the moment, it could actually play into their hands. I mean, especially we look at that India-New Zealand game, if they can get those matches like that, I mean, no results in those, and then they go and win the games that they're supposed to. I mean, I think they're about 12-1 at the start of this one, to top the group stage. That's looking like quite good value at the moment.
And I guess encouragingly for New Zealand, hasn't necessarily been the big names that have stepped up, particularly with the ball.
No, absolutely. I mean, Matt Henry was particularly impressive, as Lockie Ferguson, I think, is now a top wicket taker in the tournament as well. Sort of compensating for, I mean, Trent Boult hasn't bowled badly by any means, but obviously not taken as many wickets as those two so far.
Simon, has this captured the public imagination? Because we've seen some pretty negative stories about viewing figures and just the fact that, it is pay-per-view and a lot of people can't really access it. Has that translated into punting? Is it a bit of a slow burner, or is business brisk?
I mean, good business. I think as good as it's particularly the bigger games when there are the big matchups, you really see the sort of punters come out to play. The India-Australia game on Sunday was a terrific betting event. It was quite a good betting event in play. Obviously, just needed the British summer probably to play ball a little bit. But I think, no, as it builds up, it's a long old group stage, but it's structured right. There aren't any of the sort of the minnows in the competition. As long as we can just get the games on, I think that's the main thing. But obviously, we're all looking at the forecast. But I was there on Sunday for the India-Australia game, and
what a game! It was brilliant, wasn't it?
Amazing game. But I tell you, the most amazing takeout was 95% of that crowd was Indian. Then there was about 4% neutrals. There was literally, I think you could probably count the Australian fans there, which in itself was interesting. That the Australians, when you go to Ashes matches in England, there are lots of Australian fans, so where were they? Or was it just were they sort of suffocated by the demand from the Indians? And I think, although it's not home advantage in terms of the pitch, which definitely plays into England's favour, that almost home support India are going to have in every game is going to be a big sort of 12th man, I think, for the Indians.
I think that makes the India-Pakistan game all the more interesting as well. It's going to be a ferocious atmosphere, because when I was at that England-Pakistan game as well, I mean, Pakistan supporters outnumbered
The
England fans, and they were generating an incredible atmosphere. So I think that's one to look forward to in terms of
That's on
atmosphere.
Sunday. We will be previewing that shortly. Simon, who's your outright fantasy at this stage?
I mean, I would love to see England win the World Cup. I'd love to see them get to the final, but if they're 50-8 favourites. I thought India were terrific against Australia. They suffocated Australia, really. I never thought Australia were going to chase down that target. They always lost wickets at crucial times. But I think the big three are the big three. Australia 7-2, India have shortened to 9-4, England 15-8. That fourth place, probably in the semi-finals, is the one which we're still sort of, wondering who's going to grab that opportunity.
One last thing about that Australia-India game. What a poxy innings by Warner, wasn't it? What was he doing? He was
Really
scratching around like Chris
scratching around,
Tarry, wasn't it?
It looked as though they'd kind of gone out there with so much respect for the Indian new ball bowlers. They saw what they did against South Africa and just forgot to score any runs in the first kind of 9
weird,
overs.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, the first game we're going to look at takes place on Thursday at Trent Bridge. It's India versus New Zealand. Really interesting game. Simon, how do Coral bet on this one?
Make India favourites 4-9, which I think is probably not ungenerous. 7-4 New Zealand, who haven't played a really strong nation yet and struggled against Bangladesh. But I think 4-9 India would prove popular amongst the favourite backers.
Will that do it for you, James, or are you going elsewhere for the value
I mean, the
bet?
first thing, unfortunately, to mention is that the forecast is not looking good because it's a real mouth-watering clash. But let's kind of hope that things improve there.
All previews now are going to be on the basis it's going to be beautiful.
Yeah, it's going to be balmy. Yeah, kind of
no more to talk
27, 28 degrees.
Yeah.
It's going to be fantastic. India missing Shikhar Dhawan, who fractured his thumb against Australia during that fine century. But they've got plenty of batting to come. Lokesh Rahul will slot in as an opener. He's a fantastic batsman, magnificent in the IPL at the top of the order, so he could do some damage against the new ball. The bet I like is actually Ross Taylor to top score for New Zealand. His one-day figures since he had this eye operation at the end of 2016, his one-day figures since have been absolutely stunning. He averages over 70 in 45 one-day internationals. Got 80 odd against Bangladesh. Looked in prime form against Afghanistan. Got a kind of quick 48 there. So he'd be my top run scorer selection.
I was really pleased, by the way, on that note that the ICC all got together and agreed to declare IOPS because it's like wind ops in racing.
Yeah, I think it helps. Important. Yeah. There's still some scientists will say that it doesn't matter if you can see a ball coming at you at 90 miles an hour, but I think it's probably a boost to your batting. One thing to mention for in-play punters, I think if Taylor and Kane Williamson are batting together, keep an eye on method of next dismissal run out because I mean, Williamson should have gone against Bangladesh when they were batting together. They had another couple of scares against Afghanistan, so that obviously Court is always a short price favourite in that market, but that's one to keep an eye on because for two guys who must have spent half their lives batting together, they look like complete strangers.
You've got stats on everything now, and I think they managed to work out the percent or the ratio of them two getting run out compared to how often they've batted together. It's alarming. It's like they hate each other, isn't it?
It's a weird one, yeah.
Maybe they do. Liam, what's your best bet here?
I like the look of Kane Williamson, score of 50, a shade of odds against. He didn't get to bat in the tournament opener, obviously, because New Zealand's openers had performed so well in that, but scored 67 against this opposition against India in a warm-up match, 40 against Bangladesh, slightly tricky wicket at the Oval, 79 against Afghanistan. I think he's one of the more disciplined batsmen in the tournament, and with Guptill and Munro, they've oddly struggled since that opening game. And I think against sort of the pace of Bumrah and Kumar, we could anticipate an early wicket, and then Williamson may be tasked with coming in and scoring big, especially if New Zealand are chasing. And we know Trent Bridge caters to the better batsmen as well. So yeah, about 6-5, I think, Kane Williamson to score a 50.
And Simon, what's your fancy?
I thought, funny, there's a Coral Super Smart booster who's noticed which, he says, obviously being on the show, Kohli to score a 50, 13-8. It was 11-10. I thought he didn't get out of second gear against Australians, scoring that 80-odd. He's averaging well over 50, so I thought that looked a bit of value. And if it's sort of overcast conditions, I just think Bumrah and Kumar probably could be quite dangerous, with the new ball. And Kumar 7-2 to be top Indian wicket taker, Bumrah 5-2, so I'd probably go for Kumar. Kumar at the bigger price.
Excellent, jolly good. We're off and running right then on Friday at Southampton. It's England versus the West Indies. Starts at 10:30. Again, let's hope the weather holds because this should be a cracker. West Indies looking very lively indeed. And Simon, how do Coral bet on this one?
Yeah, I'm on my way down there. I've got tickets out of the ballot for this. I'm on my way down with my 11-year-old boy. Oh, actually, he's going to be ill on Friday. The teams don't see this today. Oh God, I could be in trouble. So I'm really hoping it's going to be on, particularly because This is a great match. West Indies a bit unlucky, I thought, with the weather against South Africa, and I think they should have beaten Australia, really. I think that run out with Hope and Hetmeyer. Hetmeyer was absolutely on fire. So 3's on England, 5-2 West Indies, but a big opportunity for West Indies to try and upset England and claim that fourth spot.
Have you thought about your story when you ring the absenteeism hotline? What are you going to go for? Just sore throat? I always go sore throat.
It's food poisoning overnight.
Oh, don't do that. That's too drastic.
Really?
Yeah, of course it is.
Sore throat sounds a bit lame. Don't just send them into school with a sore throat.
Sore throat.
Okay,
Sore throat.
okay. I'll
So
tell you
what's the fancy, Si?
Well, I think, look, I'm hoping he'll win. I think in terms of what any particular market, I think Shimron Hetmeyer, I thought he looked in terrific form. He was excited. I went out to the Caribbean, saw one of the test matches, and the locals love Hetmeyer. He's their great new hope. He was batting well when he was run out. 7-1, top West Indies run score, I thought might be the value.
I'm officially banning you and Steve-O for referencing your trips to the Caribbean last year.
All my cricket anecdotes
Making
in
me
one.
extremely jealous. Liam, what do you like when England take on the Windies?
It may be quite boring, but Joe Root, top England run scorer, I think, in this one. He's posted pretty good scores, 51, 107 and 21 so far. And you look at the way the Windies' pace attack have been performing at the moment. You know, bowled Pakistan out for 105, reduced Australia to 38 for 4, had South Africa at 29 for 2 before that game was rained off. So I wouldn't be surprised, if they were to take an early wicket, especially with Bairstow and Roy. I wouldn't be surprised to see one of them go early. And as we've seen, especially in the opening game, Root is often required to come in and steady the ship. Kind of the glue that holds that top order together. He didn't feature at the Rose Bowl in the warm-up game against Australia, and that was actually a game when England's openers struggled. And I think with a larger boundary, that could play into, that could cater to his sort of quick singles approach. So Root, top England run scorer.
James, the forecast's a little bit better for this one, isn't it? So let's work on the basis. We're going to get 50 overs aside, and the bet is.
I actually like Owen Morgan at 6-1 to top score for England. I think that looks a bit too big. He looked in absolutely prime form in the opening game against South Africa. Scored a very quick 50. And averages 76 at the Rose Bowl. Scored a couple of centuries, admittedly, back in 2010, but got 70 off kind of 48 balls against Pakistan. The outlook is looking a bit brighter, and another reason to cheer is that Jos Buttler and Andre Russell hoping to win their fitness battles. They've been quite positive about that, and those two are two guys who I'm sure Simon will be looking forward to seeing.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one, that side, isn't it?
I think it should be, yeah. I mean, they're exciting side, West Indies. I think they've a bit of swagger about them, and Jason Holder's managing the troops well. So
and some substance as well now. Yeah. It's not 4 or 5 decent individuals and then a few weights.
No, they do look well balanced. Yeah.
Sri Lanka versus Australia coming next.
Don't bet silly, bet savvy. Join Coral's Bet and Get Club and get a free £5 bet every Sunday. The smart money's on Coral.
Welcome back to the Racing Post Cricket World Cup show. It's Bruce Millington, James Milton, Liam Flynn and Coral Simon Clare. We are going to look ahead to Saturday's early game, 10:30 start at the Oval, Sri Lanka versus Australia. Simon, how did Coral bet on this one?
Well, you kind of fear for Sri Lanka a little bit there. 9-2 second favourite, 7-1 on Australia. Sri Lanka looked pretty woeful in the 2 games they played. They managed to beat Afghanistan, 2 games rained off. Would anybody be backing Sri Lanka at 9-2?
Let's ask Liam Flynn.
No, I definitely wouldn't be, like you say. I mean, they've had sort of two games abandoned and had the win by DLS. I wouldn't be going anywhere near them. My best bet for this one would be Usman Khawaja, top Australia run scorer. I think he scored quite quickly against India, actually, 42 runs from 39 balls, but eventually bowled as obviously there was pressure on Australia to chase the title. He scored 89 against Sri Lanka in a warm-up match at the Rose Bowl, and he came into the tournament in pretty good form. Obviously, he was player of the series in that ODI series against India, scoring 50, 38, 104, 91,
so his best position,
100. I would say so. I think he performs quite well from there. And obviously the other aspect, as we were saying about Warner, I mean the rate at which he's been scoring, I think that there's definitely the opportunity there for someone lower down to put in a higher total. So yeah, Usman Khawaja, top Australia run scorer.
James, what do you like here?
I like the look of Glenn Maxwell to be man of the match, actually. His bowling's really impressed me. Bowled a couple of really economical spells of off spin against the West Indies and India. And actually in a warm-up game against Sri Lanka, he took 1 for 14 off 5 overs. So that's his kind of weaker suit. And then we saw very briefly against India. He came in and smacked 28 or 14 balls, and I think there's been a lot of talk in the Australia camp that they need to actually get him higher up the order, get him in earlier in the innings. So, and he is capable of the most spectacular batting. So at 12-1, yeah, it doesn't a great betting heat in the kind of match betting. I think it's very hard to oppose Australia. But yeah, Glenn Maxwell to be man of the match.
Have we got reliable man of the match adjudicators? Because I've been put off this bet for all time since Jermaine Genius gave Royner the man of the match in a cup final.
I think they do seem to be pretty solid. Yeah, there's not too many left field selections so far.
Simon, what do you like here?
I think Australia could rip through Sri Lanka. I thought Stark, fairly obvious, 5-2, top Australian wicket taker. He's going to be leading the charge for them. Malinga's favourite for the Sri Lankans. He took 3 wickets against Afghanistan. They haven't taken many wickets so far, so I'm not sure the fact they're still relying on Malinga is fascinating, really. He seems to have been around forever. And Matthews is the favourite for the top run scorer of Sri Lanka. He hasn't scored a run yet, I don't think. He's in his 2 games, so that wouldn't tempt me. So maybe Steve Smith. I thought he looked in pretty good form. It was a bit slow going, but he's 11-4, so that would be my best bet for top Australian batsman.
Jolly good. The other game on Saturday starts at 1:30 at Cardiff. It's South Africa who are having a really difficult time against Afghanistan. Must win for South Africa. Will they win? Simon, how short are they?
7's on against an Afghanistan side who are 9-2, but haven't been disgraced in their games so far. And South Africa have been disappointing. So would you be lumping on 7's on?
Well, James, we took on South Africa with Bangladesh. Oh, certainly Liam did. I think you did as well, James, didn't you?
I may have vaguely hinted it that way. Not as
while Liam was. Could there be a
cashing out my South Africa bet frantically? Yeah.
What's going to happen here? Because South Africa have had a difficult time, and unless they stick a run of wins together, they're not going to get it through, are they?
No, and they needed to start winning against the West Indies when that was obviously washed out, but they were already in trouble at 29 for 2 there. So I think they will win, but I mean you can't be getting involved at kind of 1-7. They struggled against Bangladesh's spinners in that defeat. Struggled certainly to get on top of them. Mehdi Hassan bowled 10 overs for 44 runs, picked up 1 wicket. Shakib took 1 for 50 from 10 overs. And then against India, Chahal took 4 wickets. Kuldeep conceded only 46 runs. So that's pointing towards a bet on Mohammad Nabi for me, who took 4 for 30 in the game against Sri Lanka in Cardiff at this venue. Took 3 wickets in 1 over. So I quite like the look of 7-4 that he gets 2 or more wickets. I think South Africa have to be positive, have to take risks, but they're just not very good against spin, and I think he's been really impressive.
No, indeed. Simon, South Africa, last chance saloon virtually.
Yeah, I mean, it still looks like it'll be a struggle for them to get into that full spot. They've got to win this. Duplessis, one of our Coral super smart boosters, 2-1 from 5-4 to score a 50. I suppose he'd be hopeful of weighing with the runs. I thought quite interesting, is it Najbullah Zadran scored a couple of decent knocks in the Afghanistan's games. If South Africa sort of rip through Afghanistan with their pace, it could be a top score 30-40. It could be. I thought him at 12-1 might be a bit of value play given he's in form.
I like a 5-4 to 2-1 boost. I must admit, some of these bookmaker boosts, you're getting you have to work out whether they're actually any bigger the boosted price. But 5-4 to 2-1 is very good. Excellent. I like that one. Liam, what is your idea of the bet here? First of all, can you just tell me if this is a bet? I like the Afghanistan openers. They go out and have a good old slog. So I wondered whether Afghanistan highest first 10 might have some mileage.
Yeah, very possibly, although obviously you've got de Kock in there, who's probably South Africa's biggest threat with the bat, but yeah, very possibly. I mean, I would echo what James said about Mohammad Nabi. I actually like the look of the 16-1 about Mohammad Nabi, man of the match. I know England opted for a very sort of pace-heavy attack in Cardiff, but it traditionally favours spin bowlers. They have been the ones who have impressed there, and Nabi obviously with figures of 4 for 30 there against Sri Lanka. And it's a very disappointing South Africa side. Not too many standout stars. Like I said, de Kock probably their biggest threat with the bat, but he'll likely be bowling against sort of a weaker middle order of South Africa, and he's handy with the bat as well. Scored 34 and 44 in their 2 warm-up matches.
Lovely stuff, chaps. Massive game coming up next. India versus Pakistan.
Don't bet silly, bet savvy. Join Coral's Bet and Get Club and get a free £5 bet every Sunday. The smart money's on Coral.
Welcome back. It's the Racing Post Cricket World Cup show. Bruce Millington, James Milton, Liam Flynn and Coral Simon Clare looking ahead to what for many people is the highlight of the entire group stage. Takes place on Sunday at Old Trafford, starts at 10:30. Pray for good weather because it's India versus Pakistan. I think they had something like 800,000 ticket applications. Absolutely phenomenal. If you've got a ticket, I know you're going to go along and create the greatest atmosphere, but we are here to talk coldly and clinically about the best bets. So before the lads tell us what they fancy, Simon, how do Coral bet on this mega clash?
Yeah, it's going to be brilliant, isn't it? It's 4-9 India, 7-4 Pakistan, and on form, you'd make India the favourites, but I think the emotion and the history and the atmosphere are going to make this a very interesting game to watch. And it's sort of, you can almost see Pakistan. Well, you'd like to think that the best of Pakistan will stand up because they can be anything, can't they? And it'll be interesting how India play under that kind of pressure. So,
well, then you can open the batting. What's going to happen, Si?
I think India will prove too strong. 4-9. I'm not sure. I mean, looking at a couple of bets. I think Babar Azam is obviously the dominant Pakistan batsman. He's 11-4. Although Mohammad Hafiz scored a tidy knock the other day. He's 5-1. I thought those two probably on the top. Pakistan betting would be interesting. And again, I'd probably be sort of looking at Kumar at 7-2 to be the top Indian wicket taker, just because I think he's been bowling really well with that new ball.
Excellent. Liam, what's your idea of the best bet here?
It's an excellent game, first game for Old Trafford in this tournament, isn't it? I like the look of sort of India to have the highest opening partnership in this one. I mean, India's openers really clicked into gear under pressure against the Australia new ball bowlers. Sharma with 57, Dhawan 117.
No Dhawan here though.
Yeah, but I think that with the the top order that they've got, it's quite versatile and they can mix it around. You've got Sharma, you've got Kohli, and I think look at Pakistan's openers. We were just talking about Babar Azam, who's probably their main threat. I spoke last time about Fakhar Zaman and Iman ul-Haq, who I've been quite impressed with, but they are still relatively inexperienced. And despite raising their game against England, that wasn't against the sort of pace attack they'll expect to come up against here with the #1 ODI bowler in the world in Jasprit Bumrah and Kumar, who took 3 wickets against Australia.
How toss dependent is this going to be, James?
I'm not sure actually. I mean, Virat Kohli loves a run chase, and he is the undisputed master of it. But he was happy to kind of pile up the runs batting first against Australia. So I think India are pretty confident whatever happens with the toss. I mean, talking about this fixture. The last two meetings in England were in the 2017 Champions Trophy when India absolutely hammered Pakistan in the opening game, and then Pakistan came back and beat them in the final by 180 runs. So that's the kind of volatility of this rivalry. Having said that, I think India will be too strong here. I think Jasprit Bumrah is the key here. Liam's mentioned Pakistan's openers who have very good one-day records, but slightly padded against teams like Zimbabwe, and I think when they're up against the real top-class bowlers, and Bumrah is world #1, I think they'll struggle. They had 2 games against India in the Asia Cup last year, and they could hardly lay a bat on Bumrah. He took 2 for 23 and 2 for 29, conceding around kind of 3 runs and over, which is incredible. Got rid of the South Africa openers in his first game, took 3 wickets against Australia. He just looks a huge threat with the new ball, and then he can come back and finish off the tail as well. So Bumrah, top India bowler.
It's amazing action, that, isn't it? Do you think anyone ever kind of try and emulate that? Short run up, that weird sort of the hands going up in the air.
I think it's one of those that I'm sure coaches will have tried to tinker with it and then just thought, let's just let him do what he does. It's
right.
No, he's fantastic.
He certainly is. Okay, Monday's game is at Taunton. It starts at 10:30 and it's West Indies versus Bangladesh. Obviously West Indies got England before then, so we won't have the freshest form at this juncture, but let's see what the boys fancy by way of a bet. But first, Simon, what's the latest betting?
Yeah, so obviously ahead of West Indies playing England, but they're 2-5 West Indies, 2-1 Bangladesh is the way we're betting this game.
James, you go first. What do you think here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really positive about the West Indies. They've been very good, but I just think at the prices, the 2-1 Bangladesh is quite interesting, actually. Just looking at the last 10 years, Bangladesh have won 11 and the West Indies have won 10 of their ODI meetings. And actually, Bangladesh have won 7 of their last 9. They beat West Indies 3 times in the Tri-Series in Ireland. Admittedly, the Windies were missing half their side who was still at the IPL. But I think those odds might slightly overstate the gulf between them. I mean, Bangladesh got the leading run scorer in the tournament as we speak, Shakib Al Hassan. He's also been bowling brilliantly. I think their fast bowlers have been more impressive than certainly I expected. The youngster Shaifuddin and Mustafizur Rahman looks in good nick. So I think they could trouble the West Indies, who have produced some brilliant new ball spells. But they did let Australia off the hook probably twice in that game. Had them 5 down very cheaply, and then a few dodgy shots and bad running between the wickets in the run chase as well. So they're not the complete package yet, the West Indies.
So what's the bet here?
A little nibble at Bangladesh at 2-1.
Liam, what do you like?
Yeah, I can certainly get on board with the Bangladesh bet, but when prices are out, I'd like to look at Chris Gale to score a 50. I mean, he scored 9 boundaries on his way to a 34 ball 50 against Pakistan. Taunton, the smallest ground at this World Cup, with very short boundaries, which will play into his hands. 34 sixes in the IPL this season. We know what kind of batsman he is, and Bangladesh also don't have the most prolific new ball attack. They struggled to break down England's openers in that game.
Simon, finish this up with a winner.
I think it's Shane Thomas, the young pace bowler of West Indies. I think he could be the top wicket taker for the West Indies.
Here we go. Me and Steve-O saw him in the Caribbean last year.
He didn't play in the Test match, but it's good to see some pace bowlers coming through finally, because they've been lacking for the last few years. I'd like to see West Indies win. They're an exciting side. This is a big game. Obviously, we see how they get on against England on Friday. But they could beat Bangladesh, were a good side, haven't they? They were a bit unlucky against New Zealand. Obviously, had a winner in the tournament. They beat South Africa, of course, and it was rained off against Sri Lanka. It was a bit unlucky, but. I think West Indies will beat them, and Thomas might be the best bet for top wicket taker.
OK, lads, 6 great games. If you can only have one bet between now and next Monday, what would it be, James Milton?
I'm taking the 7-4 about Mohammed Nabi, 2 or more wickets against South Africa.
And when's that? That's on Saturday for Afghanistan, yeah?
Yeah.
OK, Liam?
I'm going to go for India, highest opening partnership against Pakistan.
On Sunday. And Simon?
I'll do a win double. England to beat the West Indies at 3-on, and India to beat Pakistan. Works out just shy of even money.
Excellent stuff. Thank you very much indeed, chats. We are back next Monday for another great Racing Post Cricket World Cup show.
Don't bet silly, bet savvy. Join Coral's Bet and Get Club and get a free £5 bet every Sunday. The smart money's on Coral.